two patrol officers stopped a lone driver, ready to assert their authority. What they didn't expect, however, was that the person behind the wheel wasn't just any driver. It was their new superior, Commissioner General Naomi Carter. What happened next was a striking lesson in prejudice, consequences, and redemption. Naomi Carter had always been a woman of quiet strength and unshakable determination. After years of relentless effort, today marked her first day as Commissioner General of Willow Ridge, a city known for its deeply traditional values. It was a position she had worked tirelessly to achieve, overcoming barriers that seemed designed to keep people like her from reaching such heights. As Naomi drove into the heart of the city, the morning sun casting a golden glow on the streets, her grip on the steering wheel tightened. Today should have been a moment of triumph, but an underlying sense of unease lingered. The Willow Ridge Police Department had long been criticized for bias, particularly against minorities. She was well aware that many officers resented her appointment, an African-American woman in charge of a department that had resisted change for far too long. As she approached a red light, flashing blue and red lights suddenly appeared in her rearview mirror. A patrol car, sirens blaring, signaled her to pull over. Naomi's pulse quickened as she steered to the side of the road, waiting as two officers stepped out of their vehicle. The senior officer, a burly man in his 40s, approached her window with an air of authority. Behind him, the younger officer followed, his face filled with suspicion. Naomi rolled down her window, keeping her expression calm yet attentive. The senior officer scrutinized her car, then her license and registration, speaking in an impersonal tone. Naomi chose silence, knowing that sometimes silence carried more weight than words. The younger officer, however, was less reserved. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his tone laced with distrust. "This isn't the safest area, if you know what I mean." Naomi's stomach clenched, but outwardly she remained composed. "I'm on my way to work," she replied evenly. "Where exactly?" the younger officer pressed, stepping closer, his smirk suggesting he had already made up his mind about her. Naomi considered her options. She could reveal her position immediately, but something held her back. She had encountered this type of treatment too many times before, being unfairly scrutinized and judged simply because of who she was. Today, however, she would not let it slide. "You'll find out soon enough," she responded, meeting his gaze without flinching. The senior officer, sensing the tension, intervened. "Let's not make this complicated, ma'am. We can continue this discussion if necessary." His tone carried an unspoken warning. Naomi had heard enough. Taking a deep breath, she decided it was time to assert herself. "Enough," she said firmly. "I am Commissioner General Naomi Carter. I suggest you reconsider how you're handling this situation." The shift in energy was immediate. Both officers froze. The senior officer blinked in confusion, his frown deepening as realization set in. The younger officer's smirk vanished, replaced by shock and a flicker of panic. "You're the commissioner," the senior officer stammered. "Yes," Naomi affirmed, her voice unwavering. "And I'd like to know the exact reason for this stop and why I'm being questioned in this manner." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The younger one struggled to justify their actions, but the power dynamic had already shifted. The senior officer cleared his throat, searching for damage control. "This must have been a misunderstanding." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "This is not a misunderstanding," she corrected. "This is the problem. Officers like you stop people like me without cause, make assumptions, and assert authority because you believe you can act with impunity." The senior officer opened his mouth to respond, but thought better of it. Naomi's steady composure made it clear that there was no justification for what had just occurred. "It's actions like these that erode public trust," she continued, "and it's why I'm here, to ensure change." The silence that followed was heavy. Naomi let her words settle before delivering her final directive. For the next few weeks, you'll report directly to me. I will personally review every traffic stop you conduct. I suggest you start thinking carefully about how you exercise your authority." The senior officer, still trying to salvage the situation, mumbled, "We meant no disrespect, Commissioner. It won't happen again." Naomi gave a slight nod, but knew those words were empty. She also knew this wouldn't be the last time such an incident occurred. The problem ran deeper than a single traffic stop, and it would take more than apologies to fix. That was why she was here, to dismantle the biases ingrained in the system. As she drove away, a quiet sigh escaped her lips. This was only the beginning. Later that day, Naomi stood before the entire department in a tense meeting. All eyes were on her as she recounted the morning's events, leaving out no details. "I'm not here to humiliate anyone," she said, her voice firm. "But I am here to make one thing clear. This kind of behavior ends now. Every officer in this department will be held accountable for how they treat the people of this city, regardless of race, gender, or background." A murmur rippled through the room, discomfort evident in some faces, silent agreement in others. Naomi didn't flinch. "This is your opportunity to prove that you serve with honor," she continued. "But let me be clear. I will not tolerate prejudice. I will not tolerate disrespect, and I will not allow anyone to think they are above the law." Her words hung in the air, unchallenged. Some officers shifted uncomfortably, while others nodded in quiet approval. Naomi could already tell who supported her and who didn't. But that didn't concern her. She was ready for whatever came next. Over the following weeks, Naomi's confrontation became the talk of the department. For some, it was a sign that long overdue change had finally arrived. For others, it was an uncomfortable wake-up call. But Naomi Carter knew one thing for sure: this was just the beginning. She had a mission to reform a broken system, and as she walked away from those two stunned officers, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be.